My fiancé said, I want to be with you, but I need to sleep with my ex one last time for closure. I said, take all the closure you need. Then I called her dad. The look on her face. When he showed up at her ex's apartment, I remember the exact moment the words left her mouth. Not because she shouted, not because she cried, but because everything else around us, the food, the candlelight, the quiet jazz playing from the living room speaker, kept going, unchanged, as if the world didn't realize it was falling apart. It was a Tuesday night. I'd made dinner. Chicken parmesan, garlic knots, a bottle of Merlot she picked last week. We were sitting at the small oak dining table we bought together from a thrift store 2 years ago. It still had a chip in the corner from when I dropped it during the move. She said it gave it character. Now the only thing with character was the silence. She kept looking at her phone, then away, then back again. Like it was blinking out some secret Morse code she hadn't decided whether to respond to. Something wrong? I asked. She blinked. Took a second longer than necessary to respond. No. Yes, I need to talk to you about something. I put my fork down. Heart slowed. Breath shortened. When women say that, I muttered with a half laugh, it's never something good. She didn't smile, just stared at the candle between us. It's about Trevor. That name. Her ex. The one who wrote bad songs and worse apologies. The one who never held a job, crashed on couches, and spent 2 years gaslighting her into thinking chaos was romance. I said nothing. She continued. He messaged me last week, out of the blue. My chest tightened. I nodded once. Okay. I answered. Another nod, slower this time. We started talking, not much, just texting. And? She took a long breath, the kind you take before diving underwater. I realized something. I never really got closure from that relationship. It ended fast, messy. And I guess I still carry some of that weight. I stayed silent. I want to be with you, Marcus. You have to know that. Then she looked up, finally looked me in the eye. But I feel like I need to see him one more time, just once, to sleep with him, so I can finally move on. There it was. Not a bomb, a scalpel. Sharp, precise, and aimed straight at the part of me that still believed in us. I stared at her, blinking, because I genuinely thought I'd heard it wrong. You what? Her voice trembled. I just think, if I don't do it, I'll always wonder. It's not about love. It's not about him. It's about me. About closure. I leaned back in my chair. So let me get this straight. You want to sleep with your ex, one last time, for closure, while you're engaged to me? I'm telling you because I respect you, she said, voice almost cracking. I didn't go behind your back. I didn't lie. I thought honesty. You thought honesty would make this okay? No, You want permission. No, Marcus, no. I want understanding. I want you to know that I love you and I want to be with you. But I can't give you all of me if I don't lay this ghost to rest. There was silence. Then I stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen sink, washed my hands, dried them on the towel. When I turned back, I said one sentence. Take all the closure you need. Her face crumbled. Wait, what does that mean? It means go ahead, sleep with him, get your answers, do whatever it is you think you need to do. Marcus, but know this. I walked toward the table, picked up my phone. You're not coming back. I dialed a number. Who are you calling? She asked, panic in her voice. Your father. Her blood drained from her face. Marcus, don't. He paid for half the wedding. I figure he deserves to know where that investment's going. Marcus, please don't do this. Hi, James, I said into the phone. Can you come by the apartment? Jenna has something she'd like to tell you. 25 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. She had barely moved from the table. Her face was blank, her fingers picking at the edge of a napkin, unraveling it thread by thread. I opened the door. "Hey, Marcus, everything okay?" James asked. He was wearing a brown sweater, slacks, his glasses slightly crooked like always. "Not really," I said. "Come in." He stepped in, confused. His eyes landed on Jenna. She didn't look at him. "What's going on?" he asked again. I sat down on the arm of the couch. "I think she should tell you." Jenna tried to speak. Her mouth opened, but no words came. She looked at me, then at the floor, then finally at her dad. "I told Marcus," she started, voice shaking. "I told him I think I need to see Trevor again, just once." "Trevor?" he asked slowly. She nodded. I thought maybe I needed closure. I wanted to be honest." "What do you mean, see him?" "I told Marcus I want to sleep with him one last time, just once. Then it would be over." Silence. James stared at her for a full 10 seconds, then said softly, "You said that out loud? And you thought that was okay?" I was being honest. "Jesus Christ," he whispered, then looked at me. "Marcus, You don't need to apologize," I said. He turned back to her. "You know what honesty without respect is? It's cruelty." "Dad, no, you're not going to spin this. You're not going to talk your way out of this." "I thought we could move past it." "By sleeping with your ex?" he snapped. "Do you even hear how insane that sounds? I didn't do it." "But you wanted to. You planned it. You sat at this table with the man you're supposed to marry and asked for his blessing to betray him." Her eyes welled up. James stood up straight. "I'm calling off our side of the wedding. Your mother will be heartbroken, but I'll explain. And you?" He pointed at her. "You need therapy, not closure." He looked at me one more time. "Marcus, I wish I had a son like you, and I'm sorry this happened." Then he walked out. The door closed behind him like a coffin lid. She didn't speak after that, just sat there. Then eventually got up, went to the bedroom, packed a small overnight bag. She came out, didn't look at me, left her engagement ring on the kitchen counter, and walked out the door. When I heard the click of the door shutting, I sat back down. The candle was still flickering. Her wine glass was half full. I picked up her fork and dropped it in the sink. Then I sat on the floor and just stared. No tears, no yelling, just the overwhelming, shattering quiet of a life that had just changed forever. The silence after she left didn't feel peaceful. It felt surgical, like someone had peeled off a part of me and left the wound open on the floor, bleeding quietly while the world outside just kept spinning. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't text Matt or drink or post some cryptic quote on Instagram. I sat on the floor of my apartment, knees pulled to my chest like I hadn't done since I was a kid, and I watched the candle burn out. No sound, no movement, just the slow, dying flicker of something I thought would last. In the morning, sunlight felt offensive. I hadn't slept. Just drifted in and out of something that wasn't rest, but wasn't fully awake either. Like my body and mind had filed for divorce and now couldn't agree on who got custody of my sanity. I stood up, body aching in places I didn't know could ache from heartbreak, and walked to the kitchen. There it was, the ring, still on the counter, sitting there like an abandoned promise. I picked it up. It felt heavier than it should. I opened the drawer where I keep all my documents, passport, birth certificate, spare keys, and placed it inside. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because trash felt too disrespectful for something that once meant forever. By noon, the text started. "Jenna, can we please talk? Jenna, I didn't mean for it to come out like that. Jenna, I didn't do anything. I swear on my life. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because I couldn't trust myself to say anything that wouldn't scar both of us. Later that day, a knock at my door. Not Jenna, her dad. James stood there with a coffee in one hand, a paper bag in the other. Didn't know what you liked, so I just grabbed black, he said. I stepped aside. Let him in. He sat on the same couch she used to fall asleep on during movie nights. I talked to her, he said quietly. She told me everything, said she never did it, that she came to you with it first because she thought honesty would protect her. I nodded. Honesty without empathy is just self-interest. He let out a tired sigh. I've never been so disappointed in her, he said. Then softer. I've also never seen her cry like that. She's wrecked, Marcus. I know, I said. But I can't be the one to fix her. He looked at me with sad eyes, the kind that have watched decades of people screwing up and still somehow hoped they'd grow. I don't blame you. He handed me the paper bag. Bagels, my favorite kind. I didn't have the heart to eat them, but I thanked him anyway. That weekend, I tried to get out of the house, went to a bookstore, a coffee shop, sat in the park. Everything reminded me of her, the smell of cinnamon. She always added it to her lattes, the sight of a couple walking a golden retriever. We'd planned on getting one after the wedding. A woman laughing too loud at a podcast. She did that too. No shame, just joy. It was like the universe had been painted with her fingerprints, and now I couldn't touch anything without feeling like I was trespassing. Monday, I went back to work. My assistant asked if the wedding was still on. I said, no. She nodded, didn't ask questions. But later she left a chocolate bar on my desk with a sticky note that said, "You're the kind of man people come back to. Don't forget that." I stared at it for 5 minutes before I could even open it. Tuesday, a letter arrived at my door. Not a text, not an email, an actual letter, in her handwriting. Marcus, I've been sitting here for days trying to write this. I keep starting over. I don't know if there are words to explain what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking. I thought honesty would earn me forgiveness. I thought if I laid it all out, the insecurity, the confusion, the pain, you'd somehow understand. But I see now that honesty doesn't erase harm. I hurt you, not because I stopped loving you, but because I never learned how to stop needing validation from men who treated me like I didn't matter. You treated me like I was gold, Marcus, and I tried to trade you in for closure I didn't even need. I'm sorry for everything. I folded the letter and placed it in the same drawer with the ring. Not because it meant anything, but because it used to. Later that week, Matt invited me out for drinks. I almost said no, but something in me needed to hear someone else's voice, someone who hadn't shattered me. We sat at a dive bar we used to go to in college, the kind of place with bad lighting and worse karaoke. I told him everything, from the moment she said it, to the moment her dad walked out the door. He didn't interrupt, just drank his beer, then said, "You handled it better than I would have." I nodded. I feel numb. That's your body protecting your heart. I keep wondering if I should have forgiven her. He leaned in. Forgiveness doesn't mean you stay. It means you stop carrying what they broke. That hit harder than the whiskey. A few nights later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then curiosity won. I listened. It was Trevor. "Hey man, look, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say, I didn't ask for any of this. She showed up at my place twice. I told her to leave. I didn't sleep with her. I didn't even hug her. She's lost, man, and I'm sorry you got caught in it." I deleted the voicemail. Not because I didn't believe him, but because his voice wasn't mine to carry. By the end of the month, I returned the ring. The lady behind the counter asked me, "Too small?" I smiled sadly. Number just not right. She nodded. Didn't ask more. When she handed me the receipt, I stared at the total. I thought about what that money could have been. A honeymoon, a down payment on a house, a future. Now it was just credit. That night, I sat on the balcony, legs up on the railing, drink in hand, and watched the city breathe. And for the first time since she said those words, I want to be with you, but I need to sleep with my ex one last time for closure. I didn't hear them ringing in my ears. I heard something else. Silence. But not the lonely kind. The clean kind. The kind that comes after a storm. When the world is wrecked, but you're still standing. Grief is a funny thing. People always talk about it like it's loud, like sobbing in the shower or screaming into a pillow. But real grief is quiet. It's brushing your teeth and realizing there's only one toothbrush now. It's walking past the bedroom and catching a whiff of her shampoo on the pillow. It's hearing a love song you both used to hum and hitting skip. It doesn't knock. It seeps. I started noticing the space she left behind. There was a hoodie of hers in the closet I didn't have the heart to move. A half-used bottle of lotion on the bathroom shelf that still smelled like lavender and something I couldn't name. I'd go to the grocery store and reach for her almond milk before remembering I don't drink that crap. She'd built a home in my routines, and now every act of forgetting her felt like betrayal. A month passed. She stopped texting daily. Now it was once a week. Jenna. I know you're healing. I'm not trying to interrupt that. I just wanted you to know, I still think about you. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I felt everything. And I couldn't afford to feel her too. One night, I saw her, not in person, in a dream. We were back in the kitchen. She was making pancakes. I was leaning against the counter, watching her flip them with that exaggerated wrist motion she always did. She turned, smiled, said, I never needed closure. Just you. And I woke up, alone. I tried dating again, sort of. I downloaded an app, scrolled, swiped, chatted. Went on one coffee date with a woman named Alyssa. She was kind, funny, had a thing for dad jokes. But halfway through the conversation, I realized I hadn't really laughed in weeks. And when she reached for my hand, I flinched. She noticed, didn't mention it, just pulled back and smiled. You're not ready, she said. I thought I was. It's okay, she said. Sometimes love leaves a ghost behind. I paid for her latte. We hugged. I never saw her again. Then came the email. Subject, no response needed. Marcus, I'm writing this because I've started therapy, because I needed to do something besides apologize, because you deserved better. I thought closure was something someone gives you. Turns out it's something you have to find on your own, after you've ruined everything you thought you needed to protect. I'm not contacting you for reconciliation. I just wanted you to know that the girl you loved, she's trying to become the woman who deserved you. I miss you every day, but I respect your silence. Jenna. I didn't delete it, didn't reread it either. I let it sit, like a note from a stranger who once wore a face I trusted. Weeks blurred into months. Matt took me to a weekend cabin trip with some of our college friends. He said, let's just breathe for a few days. We drank beer on the dock, fished, badly, listened to old playlists. The second night, someone asked, whatever happened with Jenna? I told them. Everything. No embellishments, no blame, just facts, just pain. By the time I finished, no one spoke. Then one of the guys, Eli, quietly said, damn, man. You didn't deserve that. And that one sentence did more for me than weeks of silence ever had. I started journaling again. First, just sentences. Then full pages. One night I wrote, I forgive her. Not because she asked. Not because she deserves it. But because I need my soul back. The next day, I walked to the lake alone, sat at the edge, closed my eyes, imagined her there standing behind me, and I whispered, not out loud, but in my mind, I release you. It wasn't magic. I didn't suddenly wake up whole, but something loosened, like a rope that had been tied too tight around my heart finally gave a little. One afternoon, I saw Trevor. Of all places, a bookstore. He was in the poetry section, wearing a black hoodie, reading Bukowski. He noticed me, panicked for a second, then walked over. "Marcus," he said, "I don't want trouble." "You won't get any." We stood in silence for a moment. Then he said, "She's not in my life anymore." I nodded. "I figured." "I never touched her," he added. "I told her to go home both times." "I believe you," I said. He looked relieved. "You were good to her," he said, "and she wasn't ready for it." He smiled, not smug, not pitying, just honest. "I hope you find someone who is." Then he walked out. That night, I lit a candle. Not for her, for me. It burned slow, software. And I sat beside it with a calm I hadn't felt in a long time. I didn't need closure from her, because I'd finally given it to myself. I didn't realize I was healing until I stopped thinking about her first thing in the morning. There was no dramatic shift, no big revelation. Just one Tuesday where I made coffee, fed the neighbor's cat, answered work emails, and halfway through the day thought, "Oh, I didn't think about Jenna today." And when I did think of her later that night, there was no anger, no sharp breath, just quiet. Closure isn't a conversation. It's not the email she sent, not the apologies, not the therapy. Closure is waking up one day and realizing you're not carrying it anymore. The hurt, the what-ifs, the need to prove anything to anyone. It just lets go. I started doing things again that I hadn't in months. Jogging in the mornings, cooking real meals, sitting at the same kitchen table where she broke my heart. Now lit with new candles, a new tablecloth, and the scent of something I made just for me. One night I opened a bottle of wine, poured 2 glasses by habit. Then I paused, smiled, poured the second one back into the bottle. Some habits fade like that. Not with pain, but peace. Matt said something to me one night that stuck. "You didn't dodge a bullet, man. You stood there, took the hit, and didn't let it turn you into someone bitter. That's not survival. That's grace." Grace. That word kept echoing. Not as a performance, not as forgiveness, just as the space between who I was and who I could have become if I let resentment win. Then came Claire. We met at a charity art show I almost didn't go to. She was standing alone in front of a painting of a broken vase stitched with gold. "You know what that's called?" I asked. She smiled. "Kintsugi. You speak Japanese?" "Number just broken." I laughed. She did too. And that was how it started. We didn't fall fast. We grew steady, long walks, late-night takeout, conversations that didn't feel like interviews. She never asked about Jenna. Not once. I told her anyway. One night, quietly, like reciting an old story I didn't live in anymore. When I finished, she didn't flinch, didn't pity me. She just said, "That says more about you than her." I asked what she meant. "You never made her a villain. That's rare." One evening, months into dating Claire, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Jenna. Just one line. "I saw you with her. I'm glad you're happy." I didn't respond, not because I was cold, but because I no longer needed her blessing to move on. Claire never wore the same perfume, never played the same songs. She wasn't Jenna's opposite. She was just herself, whole, present, unapologetically grounded. One day I looked at her from across the kitchen, hoodie on, hair in a messy bun, stirring her tea with a spoon that clinked gently against the mug. And I thought, This is what peace looks like. Not fireworks, not second chances. Just someone who never made me question my worth to begin with. I proposed to her a year later. No rooftop, no choreographed moment. Just a lazy Sunday morning. We were folding laundry. She held up a mismatched sock and said, "Some things are better as a pair." I laughed, then reached into my drawer, pulled out the ring I'd kept hidden for months, and said, "So are we." She said yes with tears in her eyes and laundry in her hands, and I've never felt more sure of anything in my life. Sometimes I think back to that night, to Jenna's face across the table, to the way the candlelight flickered when she said she needed closure, to the way her father looked at her, to the silence that followed. And I don't feel hate. I don't feel shame. I feel gratitude, not for the pain, but for the lesson, because she taught me that love without respect is just longing in disguise, and I refuse to live in disguise anymore. Closure isn't getting the apology you think you deserve. It's realizing you've outgrown the version of yourself that needed it. It's looking at the wound and seeing skin instead of blood. It's knowing that you're no longer waiting at the door of someone who locked it behind them. You're walking down a different road now, and there's sunlight. I don't tell this story for pity or revenge. I tell it because I survived it, because someone out there is sitting at a dinner table right now hearing the same words I heard, and they need to know. You don't owe someone your future just because you built a past together. Walk away, not to punish them, but to protect yourself. And one day, you'll sit at a new table with someone new in a life so quiet and full and real. You'll wonder how you ever mistook anything else for love.